There are moments in life that shatter everything you thought you knew, moments so profoundly devastating they rip your world apart and leave you questioning reality itself. For me, that moment wasn't a sudden crash, but a slow, agonizing unraveling, a betrayal so deep, it turned the woman I loved, the mother of my children, into a stranger. It all started subtly, about 4.5 months ago, when my wife, 37F, got a new job. With it came new friends, a group I instantly disliked. They were, in my eyes, the kind of hardcore feminists who'd yell at you for holding a door, or for not holding it, you just couldn't win. At first, I laughed it off, but over the last 2 months, disturbing changes began to take root in our 11-year marriage, a marriage that had brought us 2 beautiful kids, 10F and 8M. She started accusing me of the most absurd things. I was born evil because men had historically oppressed women, can you believe that? Everything I'd normally do for her, things she once appreciated, suddenly became ammunition for a fight. I tried to be patient, to reason with her, often ending arguments with a plea, but I haven't done anything bad to you. The only thing I'm guilty of is loving you. She'd murmur something, then wake up the next day, ready to attack again with slightly different, equally nonsensical arguments. Then, about 5 weeks before Christmas, a sharp, cold dread settled in my gut. She started coming home late, unannounced, her phone unreachable. When she did arrive, she'd be drunk, distant, and cold. The next day, she'd dismiss my concerns, call me controlling, tell me I was reading too much into things. It happened a few more times. I tried to snoop on her phone, finding nothing definitive, but I knew she'd deleted messages. What I did find, though, was a thread with one of her new friends discussing how she would approach me about an open relationship. My blood ran cold. My gut feeling was right, she was cheating. The message indicated she'd talked to me on the second Monday of December. Our kids were at their grandparents' for Christmas, and we were supposed to join them later that day. Over breakfast, she tried to casually drop it, like it was just a passing thought. What do you think about an open relationship? Luckily, I was prepared. I was recording. I'd spent hours on Reddit, learning that there was no saving this. My best outcome was to salvage some pride and protect my kids. I didn't scream or yell. My jaw was clenched, and I went straight into interrogation mode. Her cockiness, which had been so palpable, evaporated the moment she saw the look on my face. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. She tried to play innocent. "What do you mean? If you want to have this conversation, don't treat me like an idiot. Be honest. If you can't, what's the point?" "What do you mean?" she repeated. "If you lie to me now, this conversation is over. I can tell you're hiding something. Who's the guy you're fucking?" Her face crumpled. "I am not, oh my god," I cut her off, "it's more than one?" She just gave a small, defeated aha. "Don't. Just don't lie," I warned, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. "You've totally destroyed my trust. Either you're honest, and we talk, or I divorce you. Our marriage ends right now. No arguments, no discussion, nothing. Just divorce. Do you understand?" She stuttered, but, "Say it. Do you understand? If you lie, I will divorce you. Say it. I already know a lot. I can read you like a book. If I catch you lying, we are over. Tell me you understand." Finally, she whispered, I understand." She then confessed to 2 one-night stands she had while out with her friends. Both married men, both with kids. Then, the real gut punch, she was planning to sleep with a coworker, intending to pursue it because it was good for her, and I had no right to control her. What the hell? I got his name, his wife's name. He was married, but supposedly in an open relationship, just like she wanted us to be. Then she had the audacity to say she'd set me up with some of her friends, one of whom was really keen. I'd seen this friend. I wouldn't touch her with a barge pole. I told her I wasn't interested. I asked for her phone. Still somewhat compliant, she gave me the pattern. The moment she went to the bathroom, I locked myself in my office. She started banging on the door, but I was already running recovery software on her phone. Within 30 minutes, a flood of painful evidence appeared: deleted texts, photos, conversations. I also installed a spying app. When I emerged, I handed her the phone and simply told her to leave. She argued, but I barely responded, just single words. She didn't seem remorseful, not even a flicker. She yelled, accusing me of being controlling, holding her back like men always held women back, claiming I'd never loved her, that she had every right, and I should just accept it. I didn't argue. I packed her things. She circled me, screaming, until I finally stood at the front door, silent, waiting for her to run out of steam. Reluctantly, she headed to her parents' house. As she descended the stairs, I delivered the final blow: you're single now. You can do whatever you want. I'm not controlling you anymore. My lawyer will be in touch in January. When she spun to respond, I slammed and locked the door. Later, I watched, via the spying app, as she discussed it with her friends. They told her how strong she was, how she was demanding what she was entitled to, how she deserved better than me, and that my threats were empty. You want to bet? What truly chilled me was when one of them explained how she'd screwed over her ex-husband, taking everything by falsely accusing him of domestic abuse. I ordered cameras immediately. I knew I had to record everything. I'd never once threatened her. The sheer malice was unbelievable. Then, she started messaging her AP, agreeing to meet him at a hotel. I was absolutely stunned. I went online, found his wife, and told her everything, including the hotel rendezvous. She thanked me and hung up. Hours later, a video arrived. She'd gone to the motel and confronted them. I heard screaming, "You fing asshole! You do this to me again, to the kids again. I told you we were over if you ever did this again." Before she burst into the room, filming my wife getting dressed on the edge of the bed. I threw up watching it. The AP's wife slapped mine and cursed her out. I sent a message to my wife: I saw the video from the hotel. I never want you near me ever again. It was like she saw our interaction as some sort of pissing competition she was winning. She was completely delusional, disconnected from reality, not understanding that we were actually divorcing. I logged onto her family's WhatsApp group, informed them of her infidelity and our divorce, thanked them for their welcome, and disconnected. Calls and messages from her side started flooding in, but I ignored them. I just didn't have the energy. I called my parents, told them everything. My father messaged my wife directly: she wouldn't be welcome for Christmas. I was at my parents' house, heartbroken. My boss gave me time off until mid-January. I monitored my wife's increasingly frantic discussions with her friends, realizing it still hadn't dawned on her that she'd lost her family, that her marriage was over, and that her new friends in AP didn't give a damn about her. She kept messaging me, then showed up at my parents' demanding to celebrate Christmas. My father threatened to call the police. I was Googling divorce lawyers, crying my soul out. The shock wore off, and the pain hit me hard. By the way, if you're still with me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. More unbelievable stories are coming, and your support means the world to me. I couldn't make sense of it. The chats, her interactions, it was unbearable. I only responded to her twice. The first: "It doesn't matter what you say. I don't know who you are. You are not my wife." My wife would never destroy my heart and soul while smiling. "We will get a divorce. I don't care what you say or what you want. You have no influence or right to demand anything from me ever again. We are over." The second: "Like I said, you are not my wife. I don't know you." My wife would never condemn our children to the pain and suffering of growing up in a broken home. "You, whoever you are, seem to be proud of what you have done." My wife was loving, caring, considerate, my best friend. "You are a self-obsessed, self-absorbed abomination." The messages stopped after that. The pain was unbearable. I wished it hadn't happened, wished I could go back, but I couldn't do that to myself. This was the worst Christmas ever. In a moment of raw honesty, I blurted out to the kids that mommy didn't want to be a family anymore, that she wanted to be with other men, and we were getting divorced. They were naturally distraught. My parents showered them with love while I was an absolute mess. I needed to get back on my feet for their sake, but I knew I'd never go back to her. The level of disrespect and callousness was unforgivable. I was lost. Why did she expect to demand anything from me? Was she mentally ill? I later found out monitoring her phone was legal since it was mine, and I paid the subscription. My self-pity turned to pure rage when I read her chats describing our marriage and our children as a burden, something that prevented her from being a successful woman and living up to her full potential. She called me an oppressive P holding her back from a good life. Our family, she claimed, was why she didn't have a successful career and loads of casual sex. I broke. I spent the next 30 hours rereading every line. She offered no details, no examples, just blanket statements. I had always supported her hobbies, dreams, even her stupid classes she'd drop out of halfway. I romanced her, took her out, was always there. If that was oppression, I wanted some oppression. I passed out. When I woke, my 3 best friends, Mike, Bob, and Frank, were in the kitchen with my dad, making dinner. My dad had brought them up to speed. I broke down again, completely out of it until Friday evening. Mike, an ex-military amputee whose wife had bailed on him during his recovery, set up a Zoom call with his counselor. He helped me understand the emotional toll, explaining that a large part of my identity as a husband was now dead, and I would experience phantom pain for that missing part. Hours of talking, and I steadily began to improve. Bob, an executive in a security company, called a top-tier law firm, and by Sunday morning, I was speaking to a lawyer I could never in my wildest dreams afford. Bob, a childhood friend I'd protected from bullies, said he was happy to repay me by covering the bill. Frank, a teacher and a father of 7, made sure my kids were okay while I got my ducks in a row. Then came the STD screening. Chlamydia. From her. My self-pity vanished, replaced by a pure, burning anger. Gloves off. Full custody. I will give her nothing if I can get away with it. My lawyer managed to track down Henrietta's ex-husband, Henry, the one she'd bragged about screwing over. Hearing Henry's story, how he'd been homeless, hardly seen his kids for 4 years, all based on her lies, was sickening. I was ready for war. My lawyer suggested a preemptive strike, a restraining order, citing her aggressive anti-male comments, especially for our son's sake. Full custody. I told her to go ahead. Our next Zoom call was bizarre. She was heavily made up, flaunting cleavage, the most effort she'd made in years. She tried to bait me, starting with an absurd monologue about different types of penises and how she couldn't wait for restrictions to end to investigate this more in person. I calmly responded that I wasn't interested in her hobbies, only discussing the divorce. She grew openly hostile. At one point, she muted herself, went to the bathroom, and I watched her confer with her friends on what to do. She cursed me for nothing more than being a man multiple times. It was still a game to her, she was in control. We made zero progress. I concluded, okay, contested divorce it is. Then, I dropped the chlamydia bomb. By the way, you gave me chlamydia. And unlike you, I haven't been sleeping with anyone else, so you better get yourself to the clinic. She just frowned, as if I was lying. My lawyer was shocked by the recording. Everyone thought my wife was insane. My lawyer won a temporary restraining order, but it wasn't extended. She suggested we use the STD as leverage for an undisputed divorce. I wanted a reasonable process, but she was forcing me into this adversarial one. Why hurt the people who loved her? It made no sense. If it went to court, I'd probably pay her a lump sum for equity, but no alimony, and I was hopeful for custody. My lawyer arranged a meeting for an amicable divorce. Henry spent New Year's Eve with me and the kids. The injustice against fathers in court was incredible. I now had no illusions about a fair process. Henry's ex had lied her head off, and the court just took it as fact. My lawyer advised him to hold his new evidence, from my wife's phone, until our meeting. The meeting with my lawyer and my wife was yesterday. She showed up 30 minutes late, no lawyer, just one of her harpy friends. My lawyer had given me strict instructions: no negative reactions, non-confrontational responses, and if she put both hands flat on the table, I was to keep my mouth shut. The harpy tried to insult me, to wind me up. My wife did the same. They laughed at their own cringeworthy insults. It was clear my wife still believed this was all a bluff, that I couldn't divorce her. She thought she was the only one who could, and if she did, she'd get everything. I just sat there, thinking, what the F is going on? I said nothing of substance, only yes, you're probably right, or I really don't know. Finally, they ran out of steam. My lawyer proposed a settlement for an amicable divorce. My client is willing to be generous for a quick, peaceful resolution, she began, and will pay a large lump sum of $60,000 for the equity in the house, investments, etc. My wife and her friend, nudged on by the harpy, got wildly excited. Before my lawyer could finish, my wife wanted to know where to sign. My lawyer repeatedly asked if she wanted to go over the rest of the agreement first, but no, she just wanted to sign. She started talking about when she'd get the money, and that they needed to get to the pub. My lawyer whispered to someone, and an older woman, a notary, had us sign 2 copies. When we were done, she stamped them. My lawyer, almost standing on the palms of her hands, thanked them and said we were done. They left, my wife even leaving her copy on the table. When they were crossing the parking lot, my lawyer looked at me, her hands flat on the table, and said, "Congratulations." She called it the strangest negotiated divorce she'd ever seen. She'd send my wife's copy later, or if she got a lawyer. Until then, it was forgotten. On the surface, it looked like an easy divorce. She signed away full custody, no spouse support, just $60,000. I needed to find the money, but Bob offered to front the entire amount. I still expected her to pull a molesting the kids and domestic abuse card. My lawyer advised me to lay low, pay for everything, don't rock the boat, basically zero initiative until the hearing. The hearing was yesterday. I'm basically divorced. The paperwork will take 4 to 6 months, but it's done. I haven't slept in days. Friday morning, police officers knocked on my door with a warrant to search my house. I was confused, worried about the kids, but they let me take them outside. I got a copy of the warrant, but I was too shaken to understand. Turns out, my ex-wife and her 3 harpy friends had been high and drunk, crashed my car into a house at high speed. They were all arrested, trashed by the crash. The one in the passenger seat was in critical condition. Henrietta, the one who bragged about screwing over her ex-husband, Henry, was the lead harpy. The cops trashed my house. I called my lawyer, the warrant was valid. Thankfully, they found nothing. I gave my statement: my ex didn't live there, I didn't know what she was doing, I hadn't given Henrietta permission to drive my car. When I got back inside, seeing my house completely trashed was the last straw. I broke down. My dad came, brought me and the kids to my mom's, then gathered 26 friends and relatives. While I sobbed on the back porch, they completely cleaned and fixed my entire house. Every room, clothes, dishes, furniture, even washing the ceilings. It's never been so clean. I went from suicidal to feeling pretty good that weekend, thanks to them. Cops found more drugs at Henrietta's house. Her boyfriend wasn't there, no babysitter, just the kids. CPS took them, and Henry got temporary emergency custody after showing the judge the chat logs. He was over the moon. He still needed to make it permanent, but the odds were good. Everyone thought Henrietta would serve time, especially if her friend didn't make it. My wife, ex, was still registered at my house. I decided to sell and move ASAP. On Sunday, her parents called. Their house had been searched too. They'd visited her in jail and no longer trusted anything she said. She'd lied about everything, claiming she was staying with me, trying to work things out. They had no idea. On Monday, my wife called, asking me to post her $15,000 bail. Her parents had already refused. My lawyer drafted papers making the bail subtractable from the settlement. Ex had no choice but to sign. She was released Monday afternoon. Her parents told me she refused their terms: no drugs, rehab, open everything, drop the bad friends. She left their house on Tuesday. She didn't show for the hearing. After showing the judge everything, including the weekend events, I won full custody. The settlement was according to our agreement. It was quick, only 30 minutes. It's done. But everyone was congratulating me, treating it like a major victory, and it sure as hell didn't feel like one. It was just pain. I still loved my wife. I knew it was over, no way back. She was my best friend, my soulmate, until recently. My love for her was mortally wounded, but it was still there, and it hurt like a motherfucker. There are no winners here. I lost. My wife lost. My kids lost. It felt like I was being asked to celebrate saving half a kneecap while losing both my legs. I couldn't sleep. Nightmares woke me up drenched in cold sweat. Then, a call from the hospital. My ex was hospitalized. She was still my emergency contact and on my health insurance. There had been an altercation. Lost some teeth, broken jaw. I brought her parents. It turns out, some of her new friends had beaten her up badly. Word had gotten out that Henry had chat logs of Henrietta bragging about what she did to him, from my wife's phone. They assumed my wife had given the logs to Henry. She still didn't understand I had access to her phone. I'd keep paying for her insurance, her phone, until the papers were in my hand. She had nothing now. She asked if she could move back home. I told her, no way in hell. Her mother wouldn't give her a penny unless she got clean and stayed clean for a year. They offered her to live with them on those strict terms. It was the first time I'd seen any regret, but I suspected it was regret that she couldn't continue her craziness. She did say, "I'm sorry I ruined everything," but it didn't feel genuine. She hardly looked me in the eyes. It hurt seeing her like this. I felt like I wanted to protect her, but she was an adult. Her behavior was dangerous and erratic, and I needed to protect my kids. She didn't ask about the hearing, or her critically injured friend. She just sat there, irritated. I still didn't understand it. She'd lost everything, destroyed her family, caused so much pain, for what? A buzz and some random sex? I went completely NC until she was clean for a long time. I couldn't deal with the crazy. Good news, the kids were doing better. My dad took us skiing. I talked to the harpy friend in critical condition. She woke up, but was in terrible shape. Her family refused to see her. I offered her $50 for information. She confessed, all the harpy friends were hardcore drug users. Henrietta had dragged my wife in, against the others' wishes, and convinced her to try drugs. They sold sexual favors for drug money. Henrietta led it all. My wife bought into their strong feminist, my own body spiel, but it was all just an excuse to prostitute themselves for drugs. She got addicted quickly, eventually selling sex to pay for her addiction. It was gut-wrenching to hear. It made sense why she only wanted the money now. It was mainly meth. No one visited the harpy friend because she'd stolen, cheated, abused, and lied to everyone. She had zero hope, looked like walking death without makeup. I cried for my wife. I wasn't excusing her, she made the choice, and now she'd pay the price. Henrietta was charged with death threats, resisting arrest, drug possession, prostitution, drug trafficking, child abuse, DUI, property damage, auto theft. Denied bail as a flight risk. She'd be gone for a while. Many people warned me my ex might try to end herself. They were right. I talked to her father, and we monitored her closely. While at the cabin, I got a message from her, a suicide note. Addiction, prostitution, letting everyone down, doing the only thing she could. I called her dad. Using the mobile monitor, I gave him her location. He rushed out and found her unconscious on a park bench, hypothermic. Hospital. Pumped. Her father successfully became her appointed guardian. She couldn't object to treatment. Forcefully committed to rehab. Sedated detox. I hadn't canceled her life and health insurance yet, so she'd get treatment. I offered her father financial help, as long as my ex wasn't told. I was scared the guys who beat up my wife would come after me and the kids. Henry, a literal meat mountain of a man, fixed it. He went to their apartment, grabbed the two guys by the neck, and told them Henrietta gave him the chat logs. They had a choice: go with him to the police and confess everything about the assault, or face him right there and expect painful, permanent injuries. They chose the police. I no longer worried about them. I found a new apartment and was moving soon. I was still very depressed, heavy on my soul, but my friends and family kept me going. I needed to be strong for the kids. My heart still broke for my ex. Despite everything, I didn't regret marrying her. I still loved her, but we could never be back together. She wasn't the person she used to be, and there was too much pain. We'd had a good life before, and I wouldn't have my children without her. I wouldn't give them up for anything. It would hurt for a long time. News of her addiction strangely helped the kids. It was easier to talk about how mommy is sick and it will take a long time for her to get well, but she still loves them. Then came the final, crushing blow. My ex-wife passed away. An overdose, in rehab. We don't know how she got the drugs inside. A doctor speculated she'd swallowed a bag that burst. The profound silence that followed her death was deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos that had been our lives. It was an end I never imagined, a tragic resolution to a story filled with so much pain and confusion. The woman I loved was gone, lost to an addiction that consumed her, leaving behind only memories in shattered pieces. It leaves me with a question I grapple with every single day: how do you truly heal from a loss this complex, where love, betrayal, and grief are inextricably intertwined? What do you tell your children when the person they called mommy is no longer here because of choices that ripped your world apart? Tell me what you think, I really want to know.